Cruella is a new Disney live-action movie and was directed by Greg Gillespie. Heading into this one, I couldn't help but feel pretty skeptical. After seeing the trailer drop back in February, I was left feeling extremely mixed on the idea of a PG-13 origin story of Cruella de Vil. The particular trailer I had seen didn't show the movie in the brightest of lights, suggesting it was just going to be a watered-down version of the Joker for one of Disney's more interesting villains, if you can call her that. Even if I love the original animated version of a 101 Dalmatians, I believe that Cruella de Vil is one of the best classic Disney antagonists. It's already been proven once before that she doesn't translate all that well into live action, and a darker, edgier version of the character wasn't going to change that for me. So I kept dreading the film's release up until about a few days ago. I went back and rewatched the trailer and started to find more aspects of it that I liked. The idea of Emma Stone playing a younger version of the character intrigued me quite a bit. She fits the bill a lot more than one would think, and the movie being helmed by Craig Gillespie, the man behind I, Tonya and the excellent 2011 Fright Night remake, I was starting to become more and more on board with the idea. After giving it a watch on Disney+, I ended up really enjoying it. Which, on a side note, it's ridiculous that those things are $30. The Premier Access thing, very dumb. Don't like that. Now, it has to be said right away that this is a flawed movie, without a doubt. Clichés, cringe-inducing monologues, and horrific pacing plague this movie quite a bit. Most of that falls on the script being written by 5 different people, which I've said for years now is never a good idea. The film does fall short in a few more aspects, keeping it from being something truly special. For one, Cruella is way too long. There was no need for the film to be 2 hours and some change, and a good chunk of it could have been cut out. The first 20 minutes, besides the major event that causes this movie to happen, didn't need it. There's absolutely no reason to show Cruella as a kid, and it was just as obnoxious as it sounds. There were a few other sequences that just didn't seem all that necessary. This movie could have easily been an hour and 45 minutes and been that much better for it. The performances were also kind of all over the place here. Emma Stone was really good in the lead role, but I'll get to her in the better performances later. Paul Walter Hauser, who I usually find charming enough, if not kind of forgettable, was noticeably really obnoxious in this movie. His accent was terrible, and he was just kind of hamming it up in the wrong way. Really poor choice of casting there. Emma Thompson was also not the best choice for the Baroness, the main antagonist. She wasn't downright terrible, but there was way more left to be desired than not with her performance. My major gripe with this film is that it's a mess. The story can be very muddled and incoherent at times. The tone can feel a bit off. There are just a ton of moments that feel like loose ends that really just clutter the narrative. If the script hadn't been written by 5 people, I really feel like this movie could have been more focused and less all over the place. With that said, however, I still had a blast with Cruella. I thought every other aspect of the movie outside the script really nailed the tone and setting they were going for. The score, the sets, the costumes, Emma Stone's performance. Cruella, for how ridiculous it can be, is very much its own movie and is completely soaked in its own world. It never really played it safe or let off the gas just for the sake of being a Disney movie, and I really have to applaud it for that. This is exactly what I would want from a Cruella de Vil origin story flick. The music in this movie is something to be really celebrated. Not only is every song choice really on point with the tone of the film, but the score is truly something special. Even if it is just a minor detail that I don't have a lot to comment on, it really helped establish the mood of the movie. Craig Gillespie does deserve quite a bit of praise for this film, for how well directed it is. The action sequences are all done extremely well, the color schemes are all well thought out, and the movie's willingness to go a little further than it needed to with some of the darker elements really just pushed it over the edge for me. While it isn't anything boundary pushing, there are moments in this movie that really caught me off guard with what they got away with. And I feel like without Gillespie's touch, this movie wouldn't have that unique personality that it does. And finally, the aspect of this movie I'm sure you've all been waiting for me to comment on, Emma Stone. She was great in this role. The perfect amount of over-the-top Disney villain performance that is extremely entertaining, and the quieter, more emotional moments. She was great in all of them. Even if I was cringing a few times while watching her performance, I feel like that was almost necessary, seeing how much of an over-the-top villain Cruella de Vil actually is. It isn't a career-defining performance or anything like that, but Emma Stone was really fantastic and is easily the movie's biggest strong suit. I would also like to mention fairly quickly that I really enjoyed Joel Fry's performance in this movie. I thought he was perfect casting here, and I'm really excited to see him in more future roles. Cruella is a movie that I respect more for what it is than its execution. It's unabashedly its own movie and never really falls into the trap of being a live-action Disney film. Is it a mess? Yes, very much so. But is it extremely entertaining? Once again, yes, very much so. So for that, I'm going to give Cruella a B.